All right, good morning, everybody. I'm Jenny Davis, principal of Piedmont Hills, and with me today we have two of our academic counselors, Jeanette Ortiz and Jennifer Miller-Cody. I don't know if you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick.
Hi, I'm Ms. Ortiz, and I have students, or I serve students with the last names S-I through Z.
And I'm Miss Miller-Cody, and I work with students' last names A through DR.
Great. So last night the counselors did their presentation for parents and students for the junior year in high school and everything that's important to know for the junior year in high school. And so as always, after we have a counselor information night, we invite the counselors to come the next day for the Zoom with the principal, because I know I've been as a parent sitting in those presentations and then it's over and you're like, oh, I thought of a question that I wish I had asked. So this is kind of an opportunity to ask those questions that you didn't get a chance to ask last night. So as we do this today, please feel free to put questions in the chat. If you wanted to raise your hand and put questions and just ask for yourself, you can do that also, whatever you're comfortable with. So we'll go ahead and get started with questions in the chat. So where and when can students sign up or register for the SAT test that takes place in March? If students who do not take the SAT, what will be the schedule for them? And if students take the SAT, how is the schedule different? Why don't you guys, if you guys can answer the question about signing up and all of that, and then I can answer the questions about the schedule.
So I know the students will automatically be signed up. If they don't want to participate or don't want to take it, then they do have to fill out an opt-out form, which will be sent home if they need one. And so any student who doesn't participate will then be assigned to a different class. So they don't have to do anything if they want to take it. It's just if they will assume that they want to take it. Unless they don't, then that's when they have to submit the opt-out form.
And just to clarify, this is just for juniors. So
just for juniors.
Yeah, seniors, sophomores, and freshmen, this doesn't apply to them, but juniors, we will assume that they want to take the SAT unless they opt out. The schedule for that day, what we will do is it's called a pullout. So the schedule for the rest of the students, and if they're not taking the SAT that day, they'll actually go to class just like normal. Just juniors that are taking the SAT will be excused from their classes. And like the teachers will know, so they'll know if they have juniors that, hey, this is not the day to like give a test or anything like that. So honestly, they shouldn't be missing anything major in their classes. Most teachers of juniors will just they'll assume that the kids aren't going to be in class, or they'll do like fluff stuff, like show a movie or something like that on that day. They shouldn't miss anything major in their classes. The teachers will know that this is happening. But it will be a normal school day for everybody who's not taking the test. I need parents, come on, ask questions. But while we're waiting for questions, Ms. Ortiz and Ms. Miller-Cody, do you want to what is kind of the most important thing for parents to think about in the junior year, would you say?
Something that we stress to students during the student portion presentation during the day last week was that they should really be using this time to do as much research as they can on themselves and on colleges and careers that they're interested in. So like doing some job shadowing, internships, connecting with somebody who is in the career that they're interested in or line of work that they're interested in, to really ask those questions and really get to know what is that work like, what is that career like, because oftentimes students have this idea of what they want to do and spend all this time, energy, money into a major career only to find out that it's not really compatible. So throughout their freshman, sophomore, and then junior year, they've been doing some assessments on Naviance to get to that point where they really know their personality and what they like, what they don't like, so that they can make those informed decisions, so that come senior year, they're prepared to know which colleges they're applying to, know which major they want, what courses align to their interests for next school year that they can take, and all that background work that they can do now, so that senior year goes by smoothly for them.
I would just add to that. I think that's absolutely true. Like all of those things are so important. And then also just any opportunity to step foot on a campus, researching and looking at schools online is one thing. And it's nice to have that ability to research things on the internet. But really, I think truly until students can actually step foot on a campus and really experience it, that they really get the true sense of whether or not it's a good fit for them. I think sometimes I've had students say that they have their dream school in mind for years and years and years, and then they go and actually tour the campus and feel like, oh, this is not really what I thought. And then visit another campus and be surprised. And so any opportunities that, if there's some sort of family vacation in an area and you drive by a campus, stop in and visit. And I know a lot of schools also will have like preview days, especially in October and November. I know for our like our CSU system and UC schools, they'll have preview days on weekends where students can come and check it out. So any chance that they can step foot on campus and really, get a feel for that is great.
Yeah. I would just add that, one thing that parents can do to tag on to that is, planning those trips. So times that we have school breaks, there's 2 breaks in the spring. There's the February break and then spring break, which I think is the first week of April this next year. Planning it, or maybe even next summer, that's a great time to do it. This next summer is visit, plan trips to go visit colleges. And because that's absolutely correct, like getting the chance to actually see them and step on the campus. When my daughter was applying for college, it was like the height of the COVID shutdown. And so like, she didn't actually get to visit college. It was like one of the reasons I really think that she chose to stay home her first year and go to community college, because she didn't get a chance to go out and like see any colleges because they weren't open to do that. And it was when her friends were going to schools, and my daughter's now at Sonoma State, but her best friend was going there, and she went to visit her friend and saw it. And then she was like, oh, it was a school that she had never thought about that she would want to go to. And then when she actually went and saw it, she was like, oh, I think I'm going to like this. And she does really like it a lot. Okay, so getting to questions. So every junior will be taking the SAT unless they opt out. When is the opt out form? When will that be out? Do you guys know? I don't know, but I can text. I'm going to send a text to Ms. Pereira right now and try to get an answer for you. She's at a meeting, but hopefully she will check her texts. And hopefully before the end, I will get an answer for you, but we'll move on to the next question. I was confused the junior student meeting yesterday. I went to the college meeting from college night. They happened yesterday too. So was the meeting recorded? Any slides I can see? Do you guys record the meeting yesterday? And we'll send out the slides.
We will post the slides on the presentation page, our school page. So parents will be, and students will be able to access it.
I'll put the link in there right now, actually. I think we have it here. Yeah, I'll go ahead and post the link in the chat here for the slides.
Yeah. And another thing I want to add on, talking about using the junior year to research colleges and think about what they want to major in, like Ms. Ortiz was saying, and like what they want to do. And so that really helps narrow down where they might want to go to school. They do want to do that in their junior year, like this time next year when they're in the fall of their senior year. Like, just prepare yourselves, parents. Like, they're going to be in the thick of the college application process. Like, this, where we are right now is where they're going to be doing, when they're going to be doing all their college applications. And that is like a stressful time. That I would say the first semester senior year is probably the most stressful point of high school. As soon as that's done, like, it backs off a lot. It's kind of like a really steep incline, and then whew, the stress drops off. But just know, like, take advantage of this time now to start thinking about where they want to apply, because the last thing, you don't want it to be October of their senior year and they're trying to figure out, oh, what colleges do I want to apply to? They should already know that. So now at this point, they just worry about doing the college applications.
Any stress we can alleviate for that senior year is definitely going to be good for everyone's sanity, students and parents, right? So And Miss Miller did share the slides, and they're also in our posted already on our website on our presentations.
Ms. Pereira got back to me. She's not sure when the opt-out form will be out, but soon. That's what she said, probably soon.
And if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Ortiz, we're doing another presentation in the springtime as well. That's going to be more in depth with regard to like post-secondary planning for juniors,
For
right?
yeah, college
Like the college piece.
in April. So
Yeah,
more information to come.
absolutely. You guys don't have any questions today, or you're just feeling shy. It's okay. I know it's a lot of information, especially if you haven't had a kid go through the college application process yet. If this is your first, your oldest child and going through that. And Ms. Cody Miller, I don't know about you, because I know you, I know when my daughter was going through this, and I do this for a living, but it was overwhelming, having to do it and go through it as a parent, all the steps and everything that has to.
It's interesting being on the other side of things, because I have a senior this year, and it's just different. I thought I was, especially as an academic counselor, I thought I had it all figured out what all of my kids were going to do, and when they kind of go a different direction or make different choices than what I had planned their whole life, it's interesting. And so navigating that together and figuring out those things it's always interesting.
And
I mean, we're still going, and even senior year, we're still going and visiting campuses and checking things out, and to hopefully inspire a little bit more. So yeah.
And that's a good point, Miss Miller or Cody, about how parents envision how things will be for their children, right? And then come that senior year, sometimes students have different plans. And so being mindful of the fact that there's different ways to get to the end goal. It doesn't always work out and is a straight, 4-year college. Sometimes they decide to do community college first for whatever reason. Maybe they're not ready, and then they can transfer. So there's I think parents sometimes get a little bit discouraged when they realize their student has different plans or is deciding to do something that kind of deviates from what they had planned their whole life. But just being open to the fact that there's different ways to get to the end goal.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing too is that a lot of times students think that they have to have their major figured out from the start of high school or the end of high school. And I can't stress enough how a lot of students will go into college with a major maybe in mind that they're going to, study, and then they end up changing their major anyway. So going into college undecided is not, I know sometimes parents don't want to hear this, but it's not terrible, because they'll form those ideas, they'll form those decisions as they start taking classes in college. And there's so many classes that they have to choose from that, they'll figure that piece out. It doesn't, and that, research even shows that they're not necessarily in college any longer, coming in as an undecided major. So though I think there's a lot of stress and pressure on students to try to think that they have to know every answer and know what they want to do exactly when they leave high school, and they'll figure it out.
Yeah. So a question came up: how many AP classes do students take on average? Interesting question with not an easy answer.
Right.
I would say actually on average, the answer is 0. Most of our students don't take AP classes. A lot of them do. A high percentage do, but when I say high percentage, I would say it's 35% of our student population has taken an AP class. So most don't take AP classes. It can vary from, you have students taking 5 AP classes to just 1. It depends very much on the student. There's no right or wrong answer with this on how many AP classes to take. My advice on AP classes, and this is coming from a parent whose child took AP classes and a former AP teacher myself. Students should take an AP class in a subject, I've said this a million times, a subject they are interested in. not because they just think they should take it. If they think that they should take AP Bio just because all of their friends say, oh, you got to take AP Bio, that's a super important class to take, but they hate science and they have no interest in the sciences, that's not a good idea. Just make sure that they're taking AP classes in a subject that they enjoy.
I agree.
Yeah, so the next question is about AP. How do you calculate the GPA with the AP class? One of you guys want to take that?
I'm putting in the chat a link to the CSU GPA. We don't use the weighted GPA, we use the unweighted GPA, but there is a calculator that students can use to put their classes, and with the weighted GPA, they do get the boost for AP classes. So an 8 is worth 5 points versus 4 with the unweighted. So it gives them that extra. That's how students end up with like 4.1, 4.2 GPAs, but we don't use that one. But students can calculate it. And in their junior status letter, we did include their weighted GPA because we have a partnership with the UC system with the transcript evaluation service. And so we did add it on there. So have your student share that junior status letter, and it is there on the bottom.
I just wanted to add to that, when students actually apply to colleges or universities, the admissions officers on their end, when they're evaluating those applications, they will weight in those GPAs as well. So they'll look at if a student took AP classes and they'll give that consideration and weight that for the student.
A question that came up in a direct message to me: does taking English AP help get an edge in a college application? I would say that actually any AP class helps with the college application process. Colleges, they like to see students take AP classes because AP classes are taught, they're supposed to be a college level class. And so what that is telling a college is that a student has had exposure in not just the subject area, but like that level of rigor in a course, where there is a lot more work, there's a lot more reading, there's a lot more expectations. And so if a student is able to be successful in an AP class, then that says that they should be successful in college. And I want to put a caveat to that when I'm saying successful, because a lot of times, I think especially at Piedmont Hills, an A is the only thing that is seen as success. And I would argue that getting a C or a B in an AP class is more meaningful than an A in a regular class.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just such a vast difference between an AP class and a regular class and level of difficulty that I think it's worth it for a student to. I never was going to say it's necessary for students to take all of the AP classes and to have a full load of AP classes. I actually think that's way stressful and probably not necessary. But taking one or two and trying them out and exposing to that level of rigor and like seeing that, I think it's a really rich experience, and I think it is really good for our students. Okay.
There's the added benefit too, then if they take that exam, the AP exam, which we would hope that they do, because if you're taking the class, that's preparing you for the exam. And if they take the exam and depending on that score, it can also earn some college credits as well.
Okay, so Jeanette, you answered this in the chat, but I'm going to read it. So what is the difference between a weighted and unweighted GPA, and which one does college applications use? So an unweighted GPA, so that everybody understands, Eastside transcript, Eastside does not weight GPAs. This is a school board decision, and Eastside as a district, this isn't a school decision, it's a district decision, and the school board has said that they do not want to weight GPAs. There's various reasons for that. When you apply for college, though, colleges do want to see a weighted GPA, and so that's why with the GPA calculator that Ms. Ortiz shared, because on the college application, you do the weighted GPA, and colleges do look at that. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. But their official GPA when they graduate, you know, and what's on their transcript and everything, that is an unweighted GPA. Okay, so I have another question that came up in a direct to me. So good morning, my daughter is a freshman and we're not sure if she'll end up at a CSU, UC, or private, mainly in California. When should she begin to take the PSAT and SAT? Do they still take the ACT exam, and when is this beneficial?
So the
Well, no,
SAT,
we're
like
not offering the PSAT this year. I know that. So, and so I know for this in the past, our district did offer the PSAT to students. It has been decided that they are not going to do that this year. I don't know what will happen, you know, in future years. If students do wish to take the PSAT, they have been advised, or families have been advised, to find other schools in the area that might be offering the PSAT. And seeing if they are able to take it there. The ACT we have not offered, to my knowledge. Jenny, you might know more, but I don't think we have ever.
No, and the ACT is an interesting test. It's more popular in certain regions of the country. Yeah. It's very popular in the South. And so if you are looking at out-of-state schools and maybe going to apply to a Southern school, you might consider taking the ACT. You know, the decision by Eastside to not offer the PSAT anymore is the CSUs and UCs are starting to not put a lot of emphasis on the SAT. And, you know, to the point where they're not even like really looking at it. And so it's kind of a question now, depending on what school that you're going to apply to, should you even bother taking the SAT and spending a lot of time on it? I would say if you're going to go private, then you probably do want to do the SAT. And, you know, there's a lot of the PSAT, I don't think is necessary. I mean, colleges don't see the PSAT. Like, that's not a score that you submit to the colleges. I mean, PSAT is practice SAT. Like, it's a prep for the real SAT. So, you know, it just kind of depends. And this, you know, if your child's a freshman, you got to start like, you know, mapping this out and thinking about it. You're not going to really worry about the SAT until the junior year. And then you may have a better idea then about colleges. That's why we're recommending start looking at the colleges, because if you think that your child's going to apply to a private school, then yeah, the SAT might be necessary. My daughter never took the SAT. I mean, again, she was a junior in high school in March of 2020 when the pandemic started. She was actually supposed to take the SAT on March 14th of 2020. As you can imagine, it was canceled. And then she just never took it. And it's fine. So, you know, I think right now there's a lot of conversation about the SAT and is it necessary? And so that is, it's just going to be a personal decision, but the academic counselors are there. Like, if you have individual questions about, you know, so it's hard for us to recommend for all of our students, this is what you should do, but the academic counselors are there to talk to you about, you know, in your child's particular situation, what should you do?
And even, one thing to think about is that even if schools aren't necessarily using SAT or ACT scores for admission purposes, like, you know, with our UC system, CSU system, they can use those scores for placement purposes. So once a student is already admitted to the school, they could use those scores as to determine if a student is ready for, you know, college level English or college level math. But they're not, I know with the UCs and CSUs, they're not using those to make admissions decisions.
Yeah. So it was in the chat. So if you get an A on the AP class, the unweighted GPA is a 4 and the weighted GPA is a 5. Am I understand that correctly? And yes, that is correct. And then we had another question about explaining what weighted and unweighted GPA means. Just to back up, I guess, in case we're using terms that parents are completely unfamiliar with. The GPA that we have as a district, and that they put on their report card and that gets on their transcript, is an unweighted GPA. which means an A is 4 points, a B is 3 points, a C is 2, a D is 1, and F is 0. And then it's averaged out with the numbers. So basically they add up those points, the number of courses that a student has taken, and you get an average. Like it's just a simple math problem and how you get the GPA. A weighted GPA means that an extra point is given for an AP class. So an advanced placement class can get an extra point. So in a weighted GPA situation, an A is 5 points, a B is 4 points, a C is 3, and so on and so forth. So in a weighted GPA, that's where you start seeing GPAs higher than a 4 points. Like you can see kids graduating with like a 4.5 or something like that. That's because that's a weighted GPA situation. In an unweighted GPA, the highest GPA possible is a 4.0. So our valedictorians that graduate with a 4.0, like that's the highest that they can get in an unweighted GPA.
I like to kind of tell students also that like in an unweighted GPA, like all classes are treated equally. There's no extra emphasis, no extra consideration, like all classes are treated the same. So an A in math 1 is the same as an A in AP calculus. It's calculated the same way.
Yeah, and so that's why Eastside, just if you're sitting the parent, like why doesn't Eastside weight GPAs? That's the reason, because it actually can cause a lot of competition and stress where you end up having kids, because they're racing to be at the top, taking like all of the AP classes offered and causing a lot of like mental health issues, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why Eastside doesn't do that. And a lot of districts, it's interesting what they do. My daughter's school in her district, they did do weighted GPAs, but they didn't do class rank. So nobody knew who was on the top, and they didn't have a valedictorian. They just didn't do that. And that's how they answered like the competition and stress situation, because that's a very real problem in high schools, and especially competitive high schools. It's a very real worry. Okay, question. Do we have a choice not to submit the AP exam score and the SAT score when you apply? What is the max score you can get?
So for AP exams, they do have a choice whether they want to submit them or not. And the highest score for AP exams that a student can get is a 5. And same with the SAT. If the school doesn't require the SAT, like the CSUs and the UC system, they don't have to submit it. But if it's like a private school or somewhere where it is required, then they would have to submit it.
And one thing too is that if a student takes an AP class, that AP class will show up on their transcript. And so if they, and the whole idea of taking an AP class is, well, there's many different reasons why a student would do it, but also to help prepare them to take the AP exam. So a college admissions officer might wonder, well, why did the student, they might, see like if there was no score submitted, well, why did they sit in this class the whole year and not take the AP exam? And a lot of schools will also tell us, colleges and universities tell us that there's nothing, it doesn't detract from an application. It only adds value if a student submits their AP exam scores. So if they don't score as well as they had hoped on the AP exam, it's not going to detract from the application. It'll just add value.
Yeah, and then if they pass the AP exam, which usually is a 3 or better to pass it, some more competitive schools you have to get a 4 or 5, but you do get college credit for that. They will award college credit. So if you, for example, my daughter took AP US history, passed the test, like her freshman level history class that they make freshmen take, she doesn't have to take that because she passed the AP test. So she gets the credit for that. So that's the benefit, one of the benefits of taking the AP exam. And one point also, Ms. Miller-Cody, that you're saying, the only thing I would disagree with what you said about colleges looking at it is if the senior year, because kids have already applied and usually been accepted by the time the AP tests roll around their senior year, because the AP tests are in May. So that's true for the junior year, but for the senior year, it's a little bit different. So when will a senior need to register or apply for the Spartan Eastside Promise? Right now, right? The due date's November 30th. Like this is.
Yeah, and there's no separate application for that. They just screen our students and know that if it's an Eastside students, they are automatically part of the Spartan Eastside Promise. But the applications for San Jose State and all the CSUs is due on November 30th. So just make sure, support your student with making sure they complete that before then.
Yeah. Okay, question. How and when do students take AP exams? Well, they sign up for the exams right now. The window is open. Ms. Pereira has been sending emails out about signing up and paying for AP exams. I recommend getting on that. Bad planning on our part, though. I mean, this window is set by the College Board for AP exams, but it's also the window for homecoming and purchasing the homecoming dance tickets. So there's lines at the school bank. So I wouldn't wait until the last week to sign up for AP exams, because that's also going to be the last week to sign up for the homecoming dance and get tickets for the homecoming dance. And we have one school bank with one bank clerk. So I wouldn't wait. The test, so they're signing up right now. The AP exams, though, are the first 2 weeks in May. Always AP exams are the first 2 weeks in May. That's set by the College Board. We don't set the schedule for that because everybody in the country takes the exam at the same exact time. So if you were actually to Google 2023 AP exam schedule, you will see which days and what the time and the date for each exam. AP exams are done in the year that they're taking the class. So if they're a sophomore this year and they're taking AP World History, they take the exam in May. So you take the exam the same year that you're taking the class. So I'm just making sure. Making sure I'm not skipping any questions. So just want to clarify that if we take an AP class in school, so there's no need to repeat the same subject in college, please explain. So basically, a lot of times in college, I just want to explain that there's like freshman level classes. So freshman level US history classes, they call them like the survey classes. They're like the basic level classes, or freshman level like English, things like that. An AP class and passing the exam, not the class, but passing the AP exam, the colleges will award credit. If they're majoring in US and majoring in history, they're going to have to keep taking history classes. So it's that freshman level class, and it depends college. It varies college to college. So that would be something to talk and ask the college. But yes, how do seniors report the AP exam score? It's basically when they take the AP exam, they tell, like, it's on the form, they say what colleges they want it to be sent to, or they can go into their College Board account and say, send my scores to the school. So basically College Board sends the scores to the school for the student. The student just tells them this is what to send them.
And I think they're also on the application. I think they're also able to self-report those as well.
Okay. How to find out what AP classes will be offered next year? Does PHHS always offer the same AP classes every year? Pretty much, yes. If we are offering an AP exam or AP course this year, we will offer it again next year. We're always looking to see maybe new things that we want to offer. One thing that we're exploring that I'm not promising we're going to offer next year, but I'm hoping that we will. I just have to convince a teacher to teach it, is AP seminar. So that's a really cool course. So there might be new courses out there, but pretty much, I mean, if we're currently offering an AP class, we'll offer it again next year. So if my daughter is a freshman taking AP English, she should take the AP exam in May of 2023. Your daughter is not taking AP English if she's a freshman. She is taking probably English 1A. And so because AP English is only offered, AP English composition is offered either juniors or seniors, or AP literature, juniors or seniors. So they don't have the option of taking AP English until they're a junior or senior. So, and one thing, you know, last week, Miss Pereira and I were standing out at lunch, and a student came up to us and was asking about self-study for AP tests. And just the way the student was asking the question, I just want to caution, like, if your child is planning on taking an AP class, actually taking the AP class, don't self-study. Like, wait until they take the class. There's no reason to self-study for the exam. The only reason you would self-study for the exam is if, for whatever reason, you can't fit the class into the schedule. But it is always better to take the class. It's a very exceptional student that can self-study and pass the AP exam. These exams are very difficult, very, very difficult. And it usually takes an entire year of taking the class to prepare for it. Mm-hmm. I always get very worried about the self-study idea. I don't think that that's a great thing to do. Right. Any other questions? We will have another, where the counselors will come back right around the time that we do the AP night, where we'll talk more specifically about AP. So if you think of AP questions later, don't worry. In our school, we have regular computer science and AP computer science, which is in the math department. Can a student take AP computer science in an AP statistics class at the same time? Yeah, probably, as long as we don't offer it at the same period, which hopefully we wouldn't, but.
And that is a good point. Actually, you raise an excellent point, because that happens sometimes, right? Those singleton classes are at the same time.
Yeah, usually where that's a problem. So if a student, so just to give you kind of like a window into our scheduling process and how it works to like where we place all of the classes. So we have students in January, starting like late January and in February, the students will do one-on-one meetings with all the counselors, and they will sign up for their classes for the following school year. We take that information and what classes the students said that they're going to take, and then we match up to make sure that there's not conflicts. So say a student taking, wants to take AP computer science and they want to take AP statistics. Like, we have reports and data that will show that we have students that want to take both of those classes. So we know not to put it in the same period. Where problems arise is when students then change their mind later on, like in the summer or at the start of the school year, because we've already placed the classes then, and we placed the classes saying like, oh, there's no conflicts. And so if we placed AP computer science and AP statistics the same period, and there's only one section of each, usually with AP statistics, there's more than one section. So this may be a bad example, but but there's, I won't be, but like AP European history, there's almost always one section, and then AP computer science A, there's almost always one section. So those are what we call singleton classes. So if there's no conflicts, when we do this work in May to place the courses, then we say, okay, they can go the same period. But then a student later on wants to say, oh, I want to take both of those classes, and then they can't. So that's why we do really encourage students to like think about the classes that they want to take, maybe starting now in December and January. Like, that's when we'll have on our elective fair. We're going to start sending out, showing videos of all of the elective classes and the classes that we offer. We want students to really take that seriously so that they don't change their mind. We let them change their mind, but we prefer them not to change their mind, because when they change their mind, it kind of screws up the master schedule and they don't necessarily get what they want, because we base our master schedule on what they pick when they have those counselor meetings. Okay. Question, do we have a record of how many students actually go to CSUs or private schools? Yes, it's not an official, it's a self-reporting So we usually put that out, and the district actually always asks for it and puts something out around graduation time, where we say this is how many seniors are going to UCs, this is, you know, how many are going to CSUs and private schools. Yeah, but we don't have a great system of like just knowing automatically, because it's an individual and they privacy things. Kids accept colleges and they decide this is what they're going to do. And so they have to tell us.
Just overall though, about 45% of our students go to four-year colleges and 51% go to community college. And then the rest do, you know, a combination of other things.
Yeah. Okay, well, we have time for a couple more questions. Can we talk about volunteering, and is it more beneficial for those to volunteer for college admission? I heard there's many clubs at school. Is it optional? Do you guys want to talk about the volunteering and how that appears on a college application?
Sure. So there are, so some colleges and universities, namely our private schools and like UCs, they are looking to know that students are well-rounded, right? That there's more to students than just, you know, what they do in the academic walls of school. And so they want to know that they're involved outside the school as well. And so a number of students do volunteer. They'll volunteer through their different clubs at school, or they'll find volunteer opportunities on their own, you know, outside of clubs at school. And if they do volunteer, we just recommend that they kind of keep track of what types of things they did, maybe what events they volunteered at, how many hours, if like, you know, a point of contact as well. One thing I would caution is that, you know, volunteering is great and it's important, and also making sure that they're doing it for the right reasons though too, because I don't want to say like just volunteer for the purposes of college admissions, volunteer because of more of the, you know, the altruistic kind of reasoning for it. Okay. And then if they do volunteer, like longevity of doing that, like is it just like a one and done kind of thing that a student did? Like just, you know, ninth grade, they volunteered for an event and then that was it. Or is this something that they're passionate about, that they feel strongly about, and they continue that all throughout high school? You know, that kind of shows up on those applications as well. And it is optional. Yes, volunteering is optional, but there's many benefits to doing so.
Yeah, we don't have a graduation requirement for volunteer hours, so it is optional. There are a lot of clubs that are service-oriented clubs, like Key Club or Interact. Those are what we call service-oriented clubs, where like being part of a club means that they volunteer. What are the classes senior year that colleges consider easy classes and don't like to see those classes in a senior schedule? I think it's hard to say easy classes.
Mm-hmm.
My experience, I would caution against the 5-period day where one of those is a teacher's aide.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe one's a PE class, you know, where colleges are going to want to see that you took an academic load the senior year. So I think if they're going to take 5 classes their senior year, which is an option for seniors, and sometimes they like to have a shorter day, and that's something that we allow, but if they're going to do 5 classes, it better be 5 academic classes. I know you guys want to.
I agree. And I think colleges and universities also want to see that students are continuing to challenge themselves. You know, so continuing to take subjects or courses, exploring things in greater depth, rather than, you know, doing that in 10th, 11th grade for college applications and then, you know, going easy in their senior year. I think they expect to see that students continue to take the same kinds of courses that they have been taking with the same kind of rigor or more.
One thing I see seniors not wanting to do, if they weren't, you know, the best math student and didn't really enjoy math, they shy away from that 4th year of math. And I think that 4th year of math is important. they don't need to take AP calculus. I mean, there's other options out there, and hopefully even in the future, there's going to be even more options. I was just talking to a leader in our district about this the other day, and that we're going to have more non-AP math options for seniors to take for that fourth year, which I think that that's going to be really important. Another thing is to keep, they're taking a world language, possibly taking that fourth year of a world language. That's huge. Very few students take a fourth year of that world language, and that sets them apart.
Even a third year. I rarely, sometimes it's just the 2 years and done. And I cannot encourage strongly enough. Like I know as an academic counselor, when I see a third year of a language or a fourth, I'm pleasantly surprised. Yeah, I agree with that.
Can they take 6 periods that include PE? Yeah, I mean, they can take PE. It's not going to look bad. But it's if they have PE and then they have 5 classes and then they're also a teacher's aide, like that's a pretty easy schedule. So I think it doesn't look bad to take PE. Like if they're taking, that PE fitness class, I think physical health is really, really important for mental health. And just, I think that continuing that, I think that's really important, but then they should be balancing that with other like more rigorous academic classes. I think it's all about a balance. And so that's what's important. Can a senior take 7 periods? Yes. Yes, we let anybody take a 7 period day. Yes, they can. So. Okay, well, if there's no more questions coming in, hopefully you guys found this valuable and you got questions answered. As always, if you have questions about classes that your child should take, or questions about the college application process, or questions about AP, that's what your academic counselors are here for. So please reach out to them. Let me actually, before we go, I will show you real quick on our website. Share my screen real quick. So just in case you didn't know how to find your counselor, this is our homepage. Go to counseling, click on that. And then over here on the side, sorry, you guys' faces are all in my way. Over here on the right side, you see their phone number, email address. Email is always preferable to leaving messages on the phone. I know I don't want to speak for everybody. I'm terrible about my voicemail. I always prefer email. But then the letters, this is the part of the alphabet that each counselor is responsible for. So if you did not know who your academic counselor is, this is how you find out, and this is where their contact information is. Okay, stop sharing real quick. One last question. Thank you, Jeanette. Does their school have college application essay workshops? Yes, all sorts of workshops. We do presentations, all of that. So yes, and so if you look on that counseling webpage, you'll see all of the presentations that we offer, and I think there's a schedule on there too of what's coming up. And then if you look, I'll go back and I'll share my screen again. If you were to go on the home page, the internet's a little bit slow today. And the calendar. This is where you see everything that's coming up. And so you can see today, as a matter of fact, at lunch, they're doing a college application workshop. And then oftentimes where you see it is usually they do this stuff on Thursdays when we have collaboration time. The counselors, because the kids got out early, that's when a lot of times they'll do a lot of the workshops. So last week they did a CSU application workshop, and then next week it's just a general application workshop on the 20th.
Yeah, to support students who are doing like Common App or
application help.
Yeah, so that's like the next couple of days they've got that going on. Okay, so this is where you can see all of that. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm not sure what you mean by schedule with social work regarding mental health. They can always contact the social worker, and and you can contact the social workers. Ms. Gunter, she actually hasn't been with me in a while, but she will in a couple of weeks. I was hoping she was going to be here next week, but she's got a conflict. So mental health is something that we're going to talk a lot about, but you can always email our social workers if you
Here,
have.
I'll put their contact info in here too.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And our topic next week is just going to be me because Ms. Gunter can't come. I mean, Ms. Ortiz, Ms. Miller-Cody, if you want to come, you can. We're going to be talking about the importance of sleep. So that's our topic for next week. Okay.
Very important for teenagers.
That's
You like to
exactly
stay
right.
up.
That's exactly right. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Ortiz and Ms. Miller-Cody.
Thank you, everyone.
Really appreciate you. And everybody have a really great week. Right.
And feel free to contact us if you have any questions. We're happy to help where we can.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.